Sustainable Parenting. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This day is about how to have less anger. And a lot of people said, I need this, yes. And I even asked a question in the group today, and because I feel like it's related. A lot of our anger comes with the battles that we feel like we're facing on a daily basis, right? It's not like we're just mean people. It's that like our kids seem to push us to the brink of this space where we feel like we cannot be sane and be our best selves anymore. And so when we don't feel sane, when we don't feel in control because of the battles, we lose it. So I asked the question today in the group, what would you do if you had 50% less battles? And Nicole said, oh, I would be having more fun. Tess said, I would be having rap battles. Brooklyn said, I'd go to the grocery store more often. Crystal said, oh, we could just get out of some of the struggle. Megan said we could have more snuggles and laughter. Courtney, more happy memories, better relationships between us, and less stress for everyone. Maria, I'd have no headaches. Yes. Can you relate? Are these things that you're like, yes, I would love to have those things too? That's what we're talking about tonight. Because in this space, yesterday we talked about the 3 errors that keep well-meaning parents like you and me often stuck in struggles that are going in circles. And we noticed those so that we could let go of those old habits that aren't serving us and not hold on to them, not feel guilty about them, just be able to say, oh my gosh, I just didn't realize that I had options. And today we're going to really start you on the path where you have options and you start seeing the dial move into more calm and more confidence. Hi, Belle. Let me know if you don't mind who Belle 730805 is here watching in over here at YouTube. We're broadcasting right now on both Facebook and YouTube. So drop your name below so you can be qualified for a prize because I want to reward you. I know it takes a lot to show up for yourself and your family in this way. And so I'm giving out some prizes to people who attend. Awesome, Velvet. Good to meet you. So we have our first winner from yesterday, who is Celia Collins. Celia, if you are here, I want to hear you be like your Price is Right coming down the aisle. Yay! I would love to know if you're here. I know that you're planning to show up. And this is, Celia told me, I don't know if I can make it to the workshop. Weeknights are really hard for us, especially if my husband's working a lot. So I just don't know. So I know that it took a lot of particular effort for her to be here. So way to go, Celia. And I know she's a representative of many of the moms and dads that are here, that are, making space because there's simply nothing more important than your relationship with your child. So I applaud you and I appreciate you for what it's taking to be here. So let's dive in. We're talking about the secret to less anger, and I'm not going to hold you at bated breath to know what this is. It's something different likely than you have considered, so it is going to take some talking. I see people rooting for Celia's win, so yay. And please know that I'm going to be picking another winner tomorrow from those of you that are here live today. So make sure that you leave an emoji or a hello. Say hi to other folks that you recognize from last night. I see a lot of people here that were with us last evening and some that are new today. Keisha invited like 20 new friends to the group today. Thank you so much, Keisha. You're always an advocate for sustainable parenting, and I so appreciate seeing you. Preeti, I know that you said you are also on the East Coast, really putting a lot to be here in these late hours. So wow, amazing to see you here. And Gigi, Victoria, Cindy, Megan, Alyssa, so amazing. Callie, great to see you. By the way, these are amazing earrings made by Callie Miller, who's on live with us here on YouTube. Amazing artist locally here in Bozeman. Okay, I'm not going to hold you anymore. Let's dive into what is the secret to less anger. Do you have a guess? This could be fun for just a second. Let's see if anyone has a guess of what do you feel is the secret to less anger? Take a breath before responding, says Celia. Getting cooperation, Alyssa. Communication. Stop yelling. Like how Sally said that with an exclamation mark. Less verbalizing, more listening. Yeah, all really deep breathing, more hugs. You guys are hitting on a lot of amazing things that are about calming yourself. In parenting, I always see there's two sides. There's kindness and there's firmness. And my goal and what I find unique and what I offer in sustainable parenting is really trying to give a different perspective that's kind and firm at the same time, so that we no longer feel like we're in this constant ping pong between kind and then firm and unpredictable, bouncing back and forth. So you guys are bringing up a lot of amazing points. Consider this perspective. Maybe a fresh thing you hadn't thought of, that I have truly seen unlock patience like that for people. Having their kids cooperate and them feeling like, I feel like so much relief. And it's this. What I see as the secret to less anger in parenting specifically, is that you spend your time and energy on the things that lead you to feel powerful instead of powerless. Gotta pause on that one for a sec. And I don't mean that we are tyrants that are gonna like have an iron fist over our kids. That's being powerful. No. But what I mean is, if most parents that I ask, and tell me if this is true for you, if they could pause those moments where they freak out on their kids, they say things they wish they hadn't, myself included, when I have said things I wish I hadn't, when I have yelled, when I have slammed a door, it was usually because I felt out of control and powerless. Right? If I really paused and looked at what was happening and then what I was feeling, if I could pause the video camera and say like, Flora, what are you feeling? Be like, I just feel like I have no sense of control here. It's out of control. It's chaotic and I feel powerless to change it. And so you lose it because you're human, because I'm human. We're all human. And when we don't have a sense of control, we then try to grab for control by being overly authoritarian or just throwing up our hands and giving in. And then either way, we like get flustered, we cry, we break down, we freak out, we yell. I'm seeing some amens, Gabriella. Yes. So the key to calm confidence, that pair, is those two words really work together. When you have confidence, when you have tools that work, you're spending your energy in a way that makes you feel powerful. That's what brings the calm. And you may be saying, I'm already trying that. I'm trying to feel powerful. I'm trying to, tell them what they need to do and why they need to do it. It's not working. Here's the thing. And you may also say, okay, you're going to give me a bunch of things to do, but I don't have any time. I'm just trying to get through the freaking day, Flora. I can't, whatever you're going to tell me next is probably going to be another thing to do, and I don't have time for it. I'm a busy working mom, stay-at-home mom, working from home mom or dad, all these things. But friend, you have the same 24 hours as anyone else. And what I've seen for people is that I've watched clients move from spending their hours in cycles of struggle into a place. Just this week alone, I had clients tell me these 3 stories. One set of parents is now having their kids sleep through the night, all the way through the night, when they had been having this child come in their room and wake them up at least once a night for the last 6 months. Because they took the time in a powerful way and used it differently, they're having that change. Another parent said, we got through a tantrum in 5 minutes instead of 45. Same 24 hours, but they spent some of them a little bit differently, and big change. And another said, my daughter just came to me fully dressed this morning, gave me a hug and a high five and said, look, I'm done. And this was a child that had been battling mornings, all because she spent more time on the things where she felt powerful instead of in the struggle of powerless. So let me break this down just a little bit more for you. In order to feel powerful, we need to look at our kids, and let's go to yesterday. If we want to be powerful instead of powerless, let's start asking the right questions. So in your workbook, we already said the secret to less anger, and next it says we need to realize that they are. And if you don't have your workbook, say the word workbook. And I know my lovely team member and mama mentor, Leah, here would love to drop that for you in the comments. It says we need to realize to be able to start parenting with more power instead of feeling powerless is to say, I'm not going to spend my time anymore on the ongoing battles, on the negotiations, on the whining, on the trying to talk them down in the moment. I'm going to stop asking the wrong question, which is, why are you doing this? And I'm going to start asking the right question, which is to realize the question comes within this realization. Realize they are little scientists. This is your fill in the blank. They are little scientists. And they have lagging skills. So to be more powerful instead of powerless with your time and your energy, when you face a challenge, look at it for, instead of, why is he doing this to me? What's the lagging skill? And in what way is he being a little scientist? Remember the story yesterday about Caleb? And I told the story of being in swim lessons and he was clawing at me and no, don't go. And he was so upset and I felt so embarrassed and nothing I was doing was changing it. And I was like, why are you doing this? None of that helped. That was powerless. When I stepped into something powerful, something I actually had control of, which was to ask the right question, we had a totally different experience. He ended up staying in the lesson and having a great time, actually learning a little bit of swim skills as much as a 3-year-old can. And I was able to spend some time by myself and not have to be in the pool. And I was just able to be on Facebook and relax and be proud that he was doing great. So little scientist lagging skill. I looked at him and I said, okay, how is he being a little scientist? Part of how our kids are little scientists is they are constantly testing rules and boundaries to see what happens when they do. And he was testing, if I scream and cry, is mom going to stay in the pool? What was his answer? Yep, it totally worked. The whole time I was in that powerless stance of, why are you doing this? I kept staying in the pool. I wasn't looking at how he might be testing the boundaries and just focused on how he needed to change, where I was the one giving a positive feedback to that negative behavior. Our kids are little scientists. Their brains are primed to test cause and effect. If I throw this ball, how far does it go? If I scream, does mom come help me? If I move my arms and legs kind of like this, do I start to kind of get to move across, crawling, walking? All that stuff is cause and effect learning. And it continues until they're like in their teen years. They're constantly checking and experimenting with the world and included in a behavior way. It's not that they like pushing our buttons. It's not that they like being difficult. It's that they're testing the rules and boundaries to see what gets them what they want. Powerless question, why are you doing this? Powerful question, how might I want to respond differently so that he gets a different feedback loop? Secondly, lagging skills. How might he, just having been someone who landed on the planet 3 years ago, maybe your kid landed on the planet 18 months ago, 4 years ago, 11 years ago, whenever it was, remember, like we talked yesterday, their like executive function of making sense of the world and making decisions off of that isn't fully developed until like early 30s, we now know. So of course they have many lagging skills, we call it, like they're lagging behind. They have not yet fully developed the muscle of how to interact with a peer when they're having conflict, how to tell you that they are really frustrated with you, how to say that they're insecure and worried about all these eyeballs of other students looking at them in the pool. And so if we can see it not as they're being a problem, but that they're having a problem, it's a whole new ball game. Then instead of being like the spectator who's over here, kind of like, think about your favorite team, and you show up as a spectator and you kind of feel like your only two tools to get the team to win is like cheering them on or booing, and you're like, come on, you can do it, you got this. Or you're over here going like, no, why are you doing that? Don't do that. That's the worst. How would you think that? You're not even trying. We can end up in that place with our kids when we're like, why are you doing that? But it's a powerless place. The spectator has zero impact on the team. When we look at lagging skills, it's a mindset. It's a pair of glasses that sees that this child has skills, muscles, emotion regulation muscles, disappointment muscles, patience muscles that of course they don't have yet, and they need our help and guidance to build. So the first place that helps me feel more calm and less angry is to look at the situation in the right way. I know this is just a small shift. You're like, but my kid still might be misbehaving. I want you to just notice in the next day, in the next few days, when you're in a scenario, if you take on the mindset of why is he doing this? Why can't you change? How is that affecting your anger? And when you take on a mindset of, I'm going to get curious, not furious. Write that down if that resonates with you. It will help you remember it. The mindset of get curious, not furious is like, I'm collaborating with them. I'm then in a stance of, like one of my coaching clients said, it's like it makes me be teacher instead of dictator. And that feels so much better. That's who I want to be. Yeah. Celia gave that exclamation. Curious, not furious. That's resonating. Yeah. So the first step is to realize that they are little scientists and they have little lagging skills. And when I can see it as that and not that they are trying to make me mad, it totally gives a different angle. So now I want to give you a recipe tonight of how you can be in a power position. We just talked about shifting the error of why. I want to talk to you about the other two things, which was parenting from the neck up and ping pong parenting. Tonight, I'm going to give you a strategy so you are predictable instead of ping pongy, and that you're effective instead of intellectualizing. Yeah. And it's going to apply to bedtime, out the door, and tech time, turn it off time. Does anyone feel like those are common battle times that you would love, love, love to know a strategy to be more effective and to actually get them, that you're not ping-ponging around, you're predictable, but they are listening and you feel calm? Yes. Hi, Mindy. Good to see you. Hi, Hillary. Hi, Megan again. Hi, Anastasia. Gabriella, Heidi, Kristen, Sherry, Hannah, Sally. So wonderful to have you all here with us. So the next thing on your handout, in order to start the process of dramatically different parenting, that's what I promised you guys. This is about feeling different, feeling like, oh my gosh, I can be in the driver's seat. In order to start that process tonight, I want to ask you to try out this one tool that I have found helps get rid of 50% of power struggles and negotiation battles over tech time, bedtime, and getting out the door, so that I feel in control and powerful and don't lose my temper. And I see clients doing it all the time with this recipe. In order to start that process, I'm going to make an agreement in advance. That's what your handout says. It has a blank. A is agreement in advance. And if you don't have the handout, that's okay. Write it in the comments below because it will help it solidify into your brain. Make an agreement in advance. Not negotiating. We do not negotiate with terrorists. Think about that for a second. Tapping again into the cause of anger and blowing up and saying things you regret. Does that often happen because in the heat of the moment is when you're doing the parenting? You're thinking, oh, we just like play, we have fun. And then when they blow up, when they're not listening, when they're being resistant, then I have to parent. And I end up in these negotiation battles. Maybe you feel like you have a tiny tyrant or a little lawyer who is just like so good at pushing you. I hear it all the time. Tonight is going to give you a way to win that battle, to be the one that is powerful instead of powerless. And magically, you'll then feel more calm. Make an agreement in advance means I'm not going to waste my time and energy in the time where it doesn't make sense. Think about it. In a terrorist situation, that kind of phrase, we don't negotiate with terrorists. It's when I talked about the flipped lid yesterday, the flipped lid happens for us too. And if they are resisting us or saying flat out no, or they're ignoring us, or they're continuing to be so rough with their sister or brother, it gets our blood boiling. And then our brain is not in the prefrontal cortex, in our executive functioning. It's in the emotions, the amygdala, the fight, flight, or freeze, the protect my baby space, mama bear. And so we are not being rational. And this is where we end up. If we're negotiating with terrorists, we're like, fine, I'm taking away your birthday. You're losing all of your toys. You're not playing all day tomorrow. And then it's totally not enforceable. Or we start taking away things here, there, and everywhere that we haven't agreed on in advance, and it doesn't work. This may be true for you if you've said consequences, my kid doesn't care. Usually when I'm with parents and coaching them on that, I say, did you agree on those consequences in advance? Well, no. I mean, how is it going to know this is going to happen? We start using our energy in the place where it's more effective when our brain is working and their brain is working, and those consequences will be way more effective. We won't be grabbing at things that are totally unrealistic, just giant things trying to have a big enough impact that it'll scare them. Often they're not scared. They're like, as one of my clients said, she's like, I feel like my 4-year-old, when I say these things, he would just be like, hold my beer, like, let me show you. I don't care. And just like ramp up as opposed to bowing down to the threat. It doesn't work. So instead, let's make an agreement in advance. And we're going to be the one that's really calling the plays. We're the coach on the field instead of just the spectator booing and cheering. And we're going to tie that agreement to a when-then. So let me really, really draw this out for you. So let's start with tech time. A lot of parents tell me, oh, my kid will never turn things off or give me back the iPad. It's always a battle to turn off TV. Can I see a raise of a hand or an emoji if that is true for you? Turning off tech is often a cause of battles. Yep, Hillary, I'm going to explain the when then. We'll get there in just a second. So in tech time battles, what I find is that a lot of times people haven't made an agreement in advance, and so they just give the child TV time or the iPad when it works for them. When we're standing in line, or I want to talk on the phone with a friend real quick, or you're just annoying me, so just go on the iPad for an hour. That's kind of like if your boss just decided some days to give you $100 and other days $1,000, and it was really only up to what his or her mood was. How would you feel about that? And especially if you kind of threw a fit on the day you only got $100 and then they were like, okay, gosh, I don't want to deal with it. Here's your $1,000. Would you be more likely to maybe throw that fit? We as humans want things to be predictable, for there to be an agreement of what's going to happen on both sides of this situation. We settle into that a little more. If your boss just randomly, whenever, was asking you to come in on these days here, there, and everywhere, you might want to quit that job. You might get very upset. There's an agreement. You sign a contract, and then you stick to that. The same is true for our kids. So tech time, if you've been just throwing it out there, here, there, and everywhere, and tech is like money. It's like candy to our kids. It just stimulates their brain in this reward process. So make an agreement in advance. Something like, we are going to have one show in the morning, and if we're in line at the grocery store, or maybe when you've gotten through the grocery store, not asking for anything, then when we're in line checking out, you can have my phone. There's how you can use an agreement in advance and tie it to a when then. So we are not going to have the phone all through the grocery store. I'm going to ask you to be respectful of not begging to get things around the store. And when you have done that, then you can have the phone for the short amount of time while we're doing checkout. And have that always be the rule. If you sometimes do that, sometimes don't, you're going to be setting yourself up for a battle. So as consistent as you can be, we are going to have technology in car rides, or we're not. Once you open Pandora's box, it makes it difficult, but you always can kind of reset it. You just have to make the agreement in advance. Hey guys, I know we've kind of been sometimes giving you tech in the car, sometimes not. And it's this constant, you're asking, and I want to just be clear. This is the plan. That's how you make an agreement in advance. So for our family too, one of the when-thens is you get your one show, and when you turn it off nicely and say, okay, mommy, then you get that one show again tomorrow at the agreed time. When you start screaming and crying or battling about the shut off, you don't get it tomorrow. We'll try again the day after that. And then that's me being able to stay calm, because I don't feel is he going to listen? Is he going to freak out? I have a plan to feel powerful and not powerless. Let's talk about what this can look like for getting out the door. Hi, Anastasia. We'll see you again tomorrow. So getting out the door, one of my favorite explanations in advance is to say, okay, here's the deal. Once I have said it's time to go, anything that gets touched, toys, is going to go away for a week. So once it's for sure, shoes on, coat on, out the door, anything that gets touched is going to go away for a week. That's making a clear expectation and tying it to a when then. And thirdly, let's talk about bedtime. And I know that Keisha has been using this, and it made a world of difference for her bedtime with her little one. If you're still on, Keisha, comment and tell us about that. That it's something I call the 4 checks. This is a way to have an agreement in advance and tying it to a when then. So the agreement in advance is, okay, I'm going to come check on you after we've done our whole bedtime routine. This is for people who the bedtime routine goes okay, but then when they're in their bed, they keep coming and asking for one more thing or getting out of bed. And you're battling that till 10 at night. I've heard that even with young kids. So you say you're going to stay in your bed. When you stay in your bed and you troubleshoot any of the things that might be needing to help them out in terms of the lagging skills, like if you're missing mommy, you'll put mommy's shirt on a little stuffed animal that's in there so you can snuggle that and smell me. You can have a little quarter cup of water, so if they're thirsty, they have that. If they're in the process of potty training, you can put a froggy potty right there next to the bed. Try to solve as many of the potential problems as possible ahead of time. And then say, okay, and then once it's in the bedtime, I'm going to come check on you 4 times. When you stay in bed, you get all 4 of those checks. If I hear you come out of the room or you're screaming for me, you lose a check. And you do this, you come back after about 30 seconds, like you want a really quick positive reward that they see, oh, you're doing such a great job, maybe one more kiss or a little half of a song or one song. Then you leave, you come back after 3 minutes, after 5 minutes, and then after 10 minutes. And most families I have heard, I know Leah here has also explained that has helped so much with her kids' bedtime. It was like within a couple of days, her daughter was staying in her room and falling all the way asleep. It's not that it has to take us more time. It's that we use our time on the things that make us feel powerful, on making a plan, making an agreement in advance, thinking ahead of what the when-then can be. So then in the heat of the moment, if they're resistant or not listening, I can follow through because I have my plan. I know they agreed to it. And often there's not as much of an upset even when you follow through because they're like, oh, I did agree to that. So you follow through, and if there's a meltdown, this is a square in your page because I don't want to ignore that. But what about when they freak out when I say they don't get the TV tomorrow, or that I forgot a key when-then about bedtime. When you have stayed in bed for all your checks, then you get your cartoon in the morning. And when you haven't, then no morning cartoon. That's a big, powerful thing. So if they melt down because they lost their cartoon in the morning because they got up a lot, you get to say my favorite phrase, one of my favorites. I can see you're upset, and I know you'll make a different choice next time. Powerful stance, calm, confident mom. I don't have to feel bad. I totally told you ahead of time. You knew what the parameters were. I'm not lecturing all this. I just can say it to myself in my head. So I know I'm not being irrational or mean. I'm not throwing out threats that are crazy. We made this agreement in advance. And then this starts a cycle where the kids know what's predictable. You're not lecturing them in a time where their brain's not working. You're setting these expectations together. And it transforms behavior. And parents start feeling like they're fully in the driver's seat. And it's so exciting. And I love doing this work with hundreds of families every year. So if you would like help with that, I would love to help you. If you're a little stunted, you're not sure, on your handout for your homework today, it says that I want you to pick. I'm going to start this plan. That's your word there. Today. And then put your plan there. Is it that we're going to make a plan that's real clear about tech time, getting out the door, bedtime? Put it there. I want to know. And tomorrow, I'm going to be giving you the best question to end the daily battles. You're not going to want to miss this because I am giving you a strategy that has transformed the lives of parents that I've worked with. I'm going to be giving you a way to look at the struggles you've been facing and really understand it better so that more and more you are in the driver's seat, feeling dramatically different about how it feels to be a mom or dad. So great to be with you tonight. Show up tomorrow. We'll be giving out a prize to one of these amazing mamas or dads who have been with us all night tonight live. And I'll be following all of your questions and comments so that if you have any struggle with what your specific plan can look like for your kid, using this recipe of agreeing in advance and the when then, put it down below, put it in the comments, or message me or Leah, and we'll help you create that plan, because that's what we're here for. That's what I love to do as a parenting coach. Great to be with you all. See you soon.